G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by Hoopball. We have got another mock draft with you today, guys, and we are doing a 14-team mock draft on Fantrax. Let's go!
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Anything's possible.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Curry for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York. We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
G'day, guys, and welcome back to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. My name is Mitchell Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at BallBoysNBA. And as always, I'm joined with my good friend, the fantasy guru himself, Callum Mack. How are you doing, man?
Doing amazing, Mitchie. Favorite day of the week. We have an official draft day to go up to all the listeners out there. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go too. And we are also joined with the first ever Ball Boys guest on the show today, Adam King. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I didn't know I was the first guest. So
it's a very
cool.
Very prestigious title to bestow upon you. But welcome to the show, mate. It's good to have you on board.
It's good. I like doing pods with Aussie guys because time zones are the same, so we're not whispering or anything like that.
We're up nice and early, ready to do some fantasy drafting. We are doing a 14-team category league head-to-head draft today, and I'm just going to get us straight on into it. We had paused the draft just to do our little intro here, but we're back on, and we've got... Yeah, like we said, 14 teams in this draft today. We've got Callum picking at pick 2. I'm at pick 12, and Adam, you're over at pick 7 there. So nicely spaced out. I'll throw it up to you first here, Cal. What are your thoughts at pick 2?
So pick 2, we've spoken about it before. I think we both believe Steph Curry probably is the number 2 pick in our mind. I'm keen to take him. He fits a lot of pretty good builds. He doesn't hurt you at all. He's a good starting point. So he's kind of who I've got my eyes on. But look, that being said, if Nikola Jokic falls to me, I'll take him. But it looks like that hasn't happened.
No, yeah. It looks like it says auto-picked, but I don't think you'd be very unhappy with that auto-pick and Nikola Jokic at number 1. So... we're all in agreement. Adam, you agree that Jokic is the consensus number 1 in pretty much all formats?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't finish at number 1, but I think after last year you have to take him. Really, he's a pretty surefire thing.
Yeah.
So even if he doesn't finish number 1, he's going to finish top 3. You would think at least.
You're not going to lose anything really, and I think my philosophy is in the first round, like you've got not too much, especially if you're the first pick. You've got nowhere to go. You can't go higher than the first pick, so you just want the player that's the safest kind of value possible and not going to slide you out of drafts, which is something that like Anthony Davis did last year when he was sort of a consensus number 2 pick and slid back to like the 30th ranked player on the season. So what have we got going on here? Karl Anthony Towns goes at number 3. That's a bit of a surprise to me. I do like Karl Anthony Towns. I'm surprised to see him go ahead of a player like James Harden or Giannis. What are your boys' thoughts on Cat going inside the top 3? Any issues with it?
You go first, Adam.
No, look, I'm surprised. I would have thought Harden would have gone there, but I like Cat this season. I think he's primed for a nice bounce back season. So. And just saying that Luka's gone off the board, so we've got a few wacky players coming off the board again here. James Harden seems to be slipping again. Oh wow, oh man,
it's come over to you, Adam, pretty quick there.
And as I said, sort of off air, I have strategies when I go into drafts, and none of my strategies included having James Harden available at pick 7.
Yeah, so it's funny because last time we did a mock draft, we had I think. Callum had pick 5 and Harden fell to him at pick 5 and we sort of thought that was too far, but 7, that's definitely too far.
Yeah, I've got to take him.
You have to take him there. That's such value.
I'm just going to have to change my strategy on the fly here a bit then.
That's okay. And that's part of the draft day. You got to mix it up. This is the excitement. And look, you're locking in a lot of assists with James Harden. I think above, I think he's better than Kevin Durant in terms of just the overall value, but Look, I'd be pretty happy with that.
For the integrity of the draft, Harden had to be selected there because,
It
had to be. I don't think we could call us fantasy analysts if we weren't picking Harden at pick number 7 there. Quick fire sort of things there. Now, I know there's a few people in our fantasy community who are anti-punting, and I saw Giannis going at pick 6. Personally, I picked him at pick 3 last draft, and I'm a big punting fan. I know you are too as well, Adam. Would you be picking Giannis ahead of James Harden?
I'd consider it. Personally, I probably wouldn't. Only because I mean, even when you punt, you still want to leave the door open for being able to win those categories. I think with Giannis and free throws, if you have him, it's almost impossible. He just tanks you so hard.
Yeah, it does. It does definitely define your path, which for me personally, I don't necessarily mind that. It just makes your strategy very clear to you and also to everyone else in the draft room. I'm sure everyone sort of realizes what you're doing after that sort of thing happens here. We're at pick number 10 here, which is probably going to be winding down. The auto selection here is Jason Tatum, which I think at pick 10 is, a fine selection here. See how we go. Yeah. And, Jason Tatum is selected there. Bradley Beal quickly off the board here. And it's up to me here. So, look, I'm thinking at this point, I personally think there's a clear top 13. The players that I'm looking at here, look, on Fantrax, he's ranked right down low. It's Anthony Davis, who has an ADP on Fantrax of 22, which is just ridiculous in my mind. So he's going to be the first player that I select here, Anthony Davis. I know he had a down season last year, but the fact that he could potentially be the number 1 fantasy player, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I'm going to be selecting him at number 12 here.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. We spoke about it before. Anthony Davis. He's been in the top 3 of fantasy for years, and last year was a small sample size. People are kind of overreacting a bit. I think he should be a top 10 player. I'd be completely happy in the 12 for him. That's huge, especially if you have a 12-team draft. You could lock him in with someone else and really lock in a bit of a punt strategy. Yeah,
so in a 12-team draft, you could have got him, and my next player there is sort of Paul George, who I think is a clear consensus sort of top 13 player. And after there, I think there is a bit of debate, but those first 13 players, in my mind, are all pretty much locked in with your Bradley Beals, Paul Georges, Jason Tatums, and all those guys towards the end, depending on where you want to go with Durant's and Embiid's and risk injury tolerance and things like that. I think those guys should all be relatively pretty safe in the top 13. Zion Williamson going at pick 13 here. First round pick in this 14-team league draft. What are our thoughts on there, Cal?
It's kind of good to have 2 punt free throw teams now. Maybe he will try and salvage it, but Zion Williamson, he's due for a big season. His assists were a bit lower on the averages last season just because he didn't come out of the gates as running that point guard role. So I think his averages this year will definitely be kind of like that top kind of teen kind of thing, maybe a 12, maybe he's ready to finish. His field goal is huge. It's such a carry, and you can't really lose field goal with Zion.
Yeah, no, he's the single biggest contributor to that category. And I'm back on the clock with Sabonis going at pick 14. That's pretty high for Sabonis. I don't know about that. So I'm looking here in this draft. Now, I'm trying to figure out my strategy with Anthony Davis. He's not the most obvious player to develop a punt strategy around. So I'm thinking, he doesn't get many threes. His free throw percentage, I'm hoping, is going to improve from last year. I think that was a bit of an anomaly. So I'm not going to lean into a punt free throw percentage build here. I've got good blocks. So I'm probably going to go with... I like pairing this player, and I just want to sort of see what this happens. It's a mock draft. I'm not necessarily thinking that he's going to be this high, though he could be. And I don't necessarily love pairing these 2 players together with injury concerns as well. But I'm gonna get your boy here, Cal, Jimmy Butler, to pair along him. And good steals, good assists, solid percentages in both field goal and free throws.
Elite in steals. I think he led the league last season in terms of averages.
It could come down.
He does have that slight injury concern. He doesn't seem to really play. He'd usually miss about 15 to 20 games per season. But when he plays, he's amazing. If you're punting threes, he is a perfect build. Great free throw percentage. Elite in your steals, as I mentioned. So I love Jimmy. Everyone knows he's my guy. I'm sad to see him go off the board.
if you haven't guessed, Adam, Callum's a Miami Heat fan. I'm a Celtics fan. Do you have a team in the league that you root for?
Not really. I used to be the Pacers when I was growing up. Reggie Miller was the guy I like. And I sort of liked players more than teams, I think. So I had basketball cards and I had certain players as opposed to certain teams. But now it's hard. I mean, maybe Memphis. I like Memphis and some of their players. But then every time I watch them and D'Anthony Melton doesn't get on the court, I get annoyed. So,
as a dynasty owner of D'Anthony Melton, I share your pain. I share your annoyance there. So hopefully things change this season. We'll see. They've kind of cleared the room for him.
More of a youth movement now, those Memphis guys. And Ja Morant is amazing to watch. I do love watching that kid.
It's coming up to your pick here, Adam. What are your thoughts coming up for pick number 2 here? Oh, you're on the clock.
That was my thought, who just went off the board.
Fred VanVleet, yes.
So I'm not going to get Fred VanVleet.
Would have been a nice pairing with Harden.
Yeah. So still sort of looking at getting someone to fit my build there. And probably, I guess, if you look at your guard stats, Harden's weakness is probably steals. So he's not overly strong in steals. So... And they can be tricky to get later in the draft. So I'm just sort of looking at who I could get. And I have a player in mind, and it's a bit high. It's a bit of a reach. But given that it's a mock.
You've always got that extra bit of freedom, a bit of learning to do.
I do. So I'm going to take LaMelo Ball there.
Okay. No, I don't mind it.
Yeah, a little bit high. But he'll get me assists and steals, threes. Free throw percentage is not super, but Harden they sort of balance each other out there. Yeah. So I'm okay with him there.
Harden definitely gives you a bit of room to grow there. Although with the rule changes this year, maybe that impact is lessened. They're supposed to be calling less of those fouls, but I don't know. In my opinion, is that James Harden will find a way. Would you share that opinion as well?
Yeah, look, I think that rule change. I actually had a bit of a chat with Dan when I was on his podcast. Oh, no, was it Dan? I was on our podcast talking about it. And I think it'll impact players more like Trae Young, like those guys that draw fouls at the three-point line. A lot of Harden's fouls come inside when he just throws his body around in there. So I think they're going to be harder to sort of change the calls on those. So I think it will impact him a little bit, but I still think he gets to the line sort of 8 times a game, which is elite. Yeah,
he'll still be very up very high in terms of the league leaders. Callum, you're nearly coming onto the clock here. What are your thoughts?
I am. Yeah, next pick. So I'm not too sure what I'm going to lock in yet. I'm maybe thinking there's not too many good big men in this range. I'm loving. I mean, I guess you got Christian Wood. Okay, I'm on the clock. I could go for a Clint Capella if I wanted to get the blocks and lock that in. You got Rudy Gobert as well, which is always. Can be a good pairing. You got Steph Curry. I'm very secure in 3-pointers per game. Maybe I could go guards and lock in a bit of a guard-heavy lineup. Devin Booker's kind of staring at me. You got De'Aaron Fox, CJ McCollum, even played pretty well before he was injured last season.
Do you reckon that's a bit early for CJ?
That's the thing.
I don't know. He was definitely performing well at the start of last season. I personally am always lower on CJ, although he made me look stupid last year. Before his injury. You got 15 seconds, Cal. Pressure's on, mate.
All right, pressure's on. I'm gonna go Chris Paul. I'm gonna go guard heavy. Lock it in. I'm hoping he's the past 2 seasons he's been playing a lot of games. I don't see any reason to slide off. People are throwing some hate that it was a bit of an anomaly.
He's on that vegan diet. That's his secret to success. Some are saying.
That's it. I'm going to lock it in. A lot of guards. I've locked in kind of assists now. Steals are looking pretty good. Threes are pretty solid. But I need a big man.
Are you worried about Chris Paul's points, getting him in the second round? Like, is that something that you're going to be looking to punt in that strategy? Or are you thinking you can make it up with this next pick here and then the combination of Steph Curry, who's probably going to be one of the leaders in points per game this year?
Yeah, I think I can still salvage it because, Steph Curry will be a 30-point per game guy. So it's a shame to throw it other way. So I can definitely... On these next couple rounds, 3rd and 4th, I will be trying to make sure I'm obviously not throwing that category away. I need someone that will be competitive in the points.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Rudy Gobert goes off on that pick there, and then Justin's got another pick to pair with it, and then it's back to you, Callum. So Rudy Gobert pairing with Nikola Jokic. Interesting pairing there. And De'Aaron Fox looks like a bit of a punt free throw percentage build there with Jokic, which can definitely work. You're back on the clock here, Cal.
All right, I'm up. I probably want some blocks. I'm going to try an interesting build.
I think I know where you're going with this. So you're trying the rare punt rebound build.
You know what? Let's do it. I'm going to lock it in punt rebounds. It can happen. I'm locking it in. Miles Turner. I'm going to lock in for this pick. He gives me blocks, which really kind of secures me in that category. And then I've got assists. I'm pretty confident in blocks. There's some other guys late in the rounds that give you blocks and aren't excellent on rebounds. So I can still kind of make up that category. And now from this point onwards, I can really just lock in some guards, get a lot of points to kind of beef that up. I will probably end up also being a punt field goal team. This will be a punt rebound, punt field goal is pretty much what I've locked in now. Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Miles Turner. Not many rebounds there. I got blocks, steals, a lot of threes.
Back-to-back drafts, you've picked Miles Turner there. So not in that spot, but in back-to-back mocks. So I guess we're getting an affinity for Miles Turner from you there, Cal.
He was excellent in 3.4 a game, I believe it was.
Yeah, we'll see if that continues. They've obviously got a different coach.
It probably will drop off. I don't know what it's like with Rick Carlisle there, so there's a bit of a question mark.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell coming off the board there. There's a few names who are hovering around who we'll see if they go. Oh, and it's quickly come over to you, Adam. Those last few picks.
I'm going to turn my horn off.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think the listeners can hear that.
Here we go. Yeah, look, I wanted Donovan Mitchell there.
Good pick by
some points.
Good pick by Chris Kaysen, who's another one of our home league participants.
Yeah, I sort of need points because Harden, I think, will only get probably 24, 25 a game this year. I don't think he'll be up near 30. And LaMelo, maybe 20, maybe sort of between 18 and 20. So, yeah, I mean, the obvious one there would be Devin Booker, probably.
He definitely will be up there in points.
Yeah.
Oh, the pressure's coming in 6 seconds.
Yeah, we'll go Devin Booker.
There you go.
I like it. You get some points there, which is nice to get on the board. Because as you mentioned, both your two first picks, they might not get over 25 points, either of them. And most of the first round picks are up in that range. Like Steph
you got to get your
points. 30 points.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got to get your points early if you want to be competitive in that category. We did put out a punt points draft guide video on our YouTube channel and as a podcast. Not something that either Callum and I are very keen on doing most of the time, and I think most people are in the same boat. Have you successfully attempted the punt points strategy before there, Adam?
Yeah, so I'm in a league that has 11 categories.
Okay,
it's my longest league with a bunch of mates. And I punt points in that league, and I punt assists, and I punt threes, and I punt free throw percentage, I think. So I punt 4 categories. It's a tricky one to pull off, but it opens a lot of possibilities because people put so much weight on points in fantasy. So it does mean, so like in my punt build, Robert Williams is a first round player.
Yeah.
And it's a keeper league as well. So it worked for me. So I lost in the final last year doing that punt, and I fell down in steals. That was the category. That was the swing category. Because obviously doing a punt build like that, you are really big man heavy. And so getting steals is hard with big men generally.
So Mitch, you got 6 seconds, man.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm sweating at the bullet here. I'm going to go with a pretty boring pick here in Chris Middleton just to get me some points, rebounds, assists. Just pretty safe and solid, and I might spice things up a bit on my another pick coming around here. All right, so I was looking at Drew Holiday there. I was pretty annoyed that Drew did go before me, but it's okay. We live on. All right, so we've got. Who's on the books? Springboks coming onto the thing. I want to circle back to something that happened earlier in the draft. We had one of our players, one of the teams in here selected Luka Doncic, and then followed up with a Julius Randle. And then someone else, I think it was a Donovan Mitchell. Seems to me like that team is trying to salvage the free throw percentage from Luka. Adam, do you think that's the way to go with Luka? I know he sometimes he's a bit polarizing in fantasy circles because his value is so different in category and points leagues. Are you like a punt free throw percentage Luka or a punt field goal percentage Luka? Which way do you sort of tend to go?
I don't know. I've never really had him on a team just because he's a hard fit. Because he gets you out of position stats, but then he doesn't get you stats in areas that you think he probably should. So he doesn't really get steals. Percentages aren't great, but he gets you really good rebounds. So it's really hard to sort of figure out what sort of a punt build to go with him. And so I'm generally sort of a bit hesitant. There goes my guy.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. I was eyeing off too. Shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, look, I've got him we're doing a best ball draft at the moment, and I've got him there, but that's a points format. So, as you said, very different.
Yeah. Two of my guys just went there in DeJounte Murray and Anthony Edwards. Those who are watching along on my screen will see that they were in my queue. So, but I did have one more play in my queue, just confirming that this is the guy I want to go with. One of the struggles of recording a podcast and drafting at the same time. I've got the one screen to rely on, so just making sure I haven't missed anyone obvious, but I should be okay with this guy here. All right, yeah. Going to be drafting Richaun Holmes there, who I think will fit my build nicely. He's going to, give me good value in field goal percentage and free throw percentage, solid rebounds, solid points. The blocks will be there. Someone who I think is pretty underrated in drafts most of the time.
Yeah, I actually really like Richaun Holmes. I'm a big fan. He can some weeks he can put up kind of like that kind of 30 value. Some big rebound weeks. His blocks can be pretty good. He's really reliable as well. Pretty durable. He's going to get minutes at that Kings roster. There's no question marks about that whatsoever.
All right, and we've had Christian Wood, Tobias Harris gone off the board. The draft's going pretty good here in Stan at this point. Well, I'll go back to one of the players that was drafted, OG Anunoby. I've seen him being a couple of our commenters on YouTube and in the podcast on Twitter. I've seen two ends of the spectrum for OG Anunoby. Cal, where do you think? I know we kind of disagreed a bit with OG on our tiers and rankings video. Do you think that at that point OG is too early?
I think he is a bit too early at 42. I'd be more I think in the 50 range. So maybe the next round, I would have probably taken him. He's elite in steals, yes. And there's Pascal Siakam taking some time off to begin the season. But you'd kind of expect that his value would come down when Siakam comes back. You got the rookie there as well that might, take some minutes, take some usage rate from him.
I personally am fine with the pick, just so we're all aware. But yeah, it is interesting. I have seen a few different opinions out there with OG. Adam, your next to pick, just waiting for, how would you pronounce that? Team Jamal to pick before you. What are your thoughts here coming into this one?
Well, it was Anthony Edwards or OG Anunoby. So
yep,
both of them are gone. So I've got three guards so far, and so I'm obviously doing a sort of a punt big man build, but I still need to fill in my roster spots. So I need a forward or a center. So I'm sort of looking at players. Oh, here we go. So I'm on the clock. So sort of looking at players who are guards but have forward eligibility, which is this next guy that I'm about to take. I've got him ready to go. So he's going to give me guard stats, but I can pop him in a forward spot there.
Interesting. Kevin Porter Jr. And obviously with the recent news of John Wall not expected to play a single game for this team, that should get a big boost for his value.
Yeah.
It's probably the earliest I've seen him go, but again, I haven't done too many mocks since the news, so it'd be interesting to see.
I wouldn't have taken him this high with Wall there, but I think not having Wall probably bumps him up 2 rounds. At least. So I sort of had him at a sort of a top 80, top 90 sort of range. And now I'd have him, a little bit higher. So top 60. So I went a little bit early there, but he really fits what I need.
Yep, fair enough. And Ja Morant went straight after. So I do think that Kevin Porter Jr., Ja Morant, I kind of think that they're similar-ish in terms of lacking some of those like steals, and the percentages aren't great kind of strategy. But in different builds and different sort of punt strategies, they can be elevated a fair bit higher. So we've got a bit of a run of guards going here at the moment with Ja, Lonzo, and Malcolm Brogdon all off the board. Callum, you're on the board next after the Bombers make their pick.
Yeah, some good guards there. As I mentioned, I'm probably going to go all in on the guards after this. I still need to think of the blocks. So when the block guy comes up, which maybe will be this next pick, unless I get sniped, I love CJ. I love Terry Rozier. I'm probably going to take one of those two.
Yep.
Depends who we get here.
I do know you love those boys, so they would fit nicely on your team.
And they give me the points I need. Points, the threes, bit of assists to keep trickling that over. The field goal, yes, can take a hit, but I think I'm pretty much locking in this punt rebounds, punt field goal build.
Yep. I've got to start looking at some guards too, because currently I have none on my roster in my punt threes build. But
I'll take all of them from you. That's a good niche.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. What are we waiting for? The Bombers. Oh, they took one of your guys. The Bombers.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to, just because I think it is pretty necessary for this build, I'm going to go ahead and take Jaren Jackson Jr. now.
Okay.
So once again, getting my blocks, and I'm hoping Scary Terry will still be on the board. If not, I'll just take another good guard in this range. Yusuf Nurkic off the board. That's good so far.
So far, so good. You've had one
I
big
want
guy.
Scary Terry, yeah. Could that be sniped?
I
found myself taking him in a lot of drafts.
Yeah,
I'm doing a lot of mock drafts, and he always seems to be in my range, and I'm really happy to take him on board.
Bees of sweat coming off the brow of Callum McMullen.
Well, we know if there was a category for clutch points, then Terry Rozier might be a first-round pick. And look, he's there.
There he is, mate. There he is.
I'm going to snatch him up. I love Scary Terry. One of the most clutch players in the league in the last 5 minutes. So.
Yep, no, I think it's fine. A fine spot to get him there. No dramas of that at all. I think he's a fairly flexible player who can fit a lot of different builds.
So my team right now, yeah. So Steph Curry, I locked into the first pick. You can go a lot of ways. He actually is, if you're looking at a punt rebounds, even though it is quite unorthodox, it can be a hard one to do. He is the best player in a punt rebounds build. I took him. Chris Paul obviously fits well, gives me some more assists, which just means I can kind of focus on points for the next few rounds, like what I've done with my Scary Terry. But I think the two bigs, which I have ended up hitting a bit of a homer with, because I want to be competitive in blocks, but still not really worry about rebounds, and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Miles Turner. Those guys can be elite in blocks, which makes me competitive. While they still hit threes as well, their field goal isn't ideal, but that's okay. I'm still punting that category once again.
Yeah, no, fair strategy.
My team's coming together.
It's coming together. I like it. Let's. What have we got coming up? Bombers back on the clock. Karis LeVert. Looks like I don't know what's happened to Team Bombers. I don't know if he was on his queue or not. I think he had a queue pick last time. Getting close. Back over to you, Adam. Team Chris Kaysen, he is another, again, shout out to you from the home league of the Ball Boys. Pascal Siakam coming off the board. First injured player coming off the board with that shoulder tear, and picks are flying. We're already at you now, Adam.
Yeah, we are. I was sort of just looking at my team so far. So really guard heavy. Pretty happy with assists at the moment. Probably just need some steals and again points. I mean, trying to get points as early as you can. So I think we're still in an area of the draft where you can get points. I've got a few guys in my queue here. What are we at? Pick 62. All right. So this one's going to be a bit of a reach as well.
Oh, okay.
A little bit though. So
no,
Darius
I like
Garland,
it. I like it.
And Sexton went before me, so I'm happy there because I'd have Garland over Sexton.
I think this is great. A great spot for Darius Garland. He was right around this in our rankings and tiers, maybe even slightly earlier. And if you need those guard stats, then yeah, I think that's fine for Darius Garland at that point.
Yeah,
I think that's a good debate, actually. Sexton versus Garland. Who would you take first, Mitch?
I'm definitely Team Garland just because those assists. I think Garland's going to be the best player on the Cavs this year. I think he's going to take another step forward. Whereas Sexton, I think, in terms of his fantasy profile, has kind of peaked. he's a points guy, he's a percentage guy, and that's about it. Whereas I think Garland's got a bit more to offer. What about you, Adam?
And I think having, I am. I'm more on Garland, and I think now that they've got Rubio there, they'll almost play Sexton exclusively as a shooting guard. So the balls, his assist numbers won't go up; they'll probably go down. So he'll purely be a scorer, which is fine. But he'll be a little bit like a CJ McCollum, but not quite as good.
Yep. No, Jesus Christ. Robert Williams just got picked. And Tyrese Halliburton. My guys are just getting torn up in the queue here. Okay, and now it's me on the clock. All right, I do need some guards on my team.
So you just got double snipes, did you, Mitch?
Double sniped, yeah. Didn't care too much about the Jonas pick, but the Williams and Halliburton were definitely at the top of my queue. So I really got to do something about this guard situation here. So I'm going to have to, even though he's pained me in the past, I'm still expecting a breakout. Will it ever come? I don't know. But Derek White is a player who I do like here, just in terms of I need a guard who's going to give me some of those steals and blocks, points, assists, and with DeMar DeRozan no longer there, I think he can take a bit of a step up in usage, but I don't love it personally, but we'll see how we go. What are your thoughts on Derek White, Adam?
I like him. I think he's could be top 50 this season. It's injuries, really.
Yeah.
I think we saw last season when he actually played for more than a few weeks in a row. Once he got his feet back under him and he was sort of rolling along, he was really good. So I think. I mean, there's hesitation there, obviously, because of his injuries, but I think taking him there is more than fine. I think
I'm not too concerned about injury. I think it was a big toe injury last year. Like, it's not something that I expect to be chronic or something to impact him long term into the future. So I'm not as concerned about the injuries. I just feel like I've been waiting for a breakout for him forever, and at some point it's got to happen soon.
Yeah, he's good for blocks too. Really sneaky blocks guy. So he'll get you a block a game, which for a guard is really, really good.
Yep, 100%. All right, we've had Isaiah Stewart come off the board here. Yep, I like that pick. I think he's in for a big season. Like him as a solid big man. The big man there's a bit of a run here at the moment, I find in most drafts, and when they get a bit further out, they always get a bit shaky. So I do like maybe getting a big here for my next pick.
I mean, talking about a block a game, you got Andrew Wiggins right on the top of the board there. He put up a block a game last season.
He did.
And I think he's still going to fit into that role. They can play the small ball with Draymond, him at the 4 for that help defense. He was a bit of a sneaky kind of sleeper last season.
Yeah, I've just never liked him, but I don't know. Maybe that's just bias from a long time ago. I don't know. He has improved in terms of his fantasy profile. I'm still addressing this guard situation. I've got 2 centers on my team, Davis and Holmes. I will need some centers, but maybe I can get some later in the draft. Okay, I'm going to go back to the guards here, but probably still someone who can get me some good rebounds, some steals, really consolidate that there. And I'm hoping some good percentages from both percentage categories there. And I'm going to take the rookie sensation, Cade Cunningham, at pick 74.
I think it's a good range for him. We know he's getting the keys. He could definitely be like a top 60 guy. His points probably won't be amazing. I would expect his turnovers to be a bit higher being a rookie. But otherwise, he should have solid rebounds, solid assists. I think his steals should be competitive. His blocks, even for, I guess you could call him a guard, will be pretty good as well.
Well, he's guard eligible here on Fantrax, so definitely he is a guard. I think this is the first time I've drafted him in a mock draft. I think around this pick is fine, as long as you're willing to accept the fact that he might not be very good at the start of the season. You know, most rookies take a bit of time, but I'm expecting at the second half of the year, he should be. I'm pretty comfortable that he's going to beat that ranking personally. All right, Adam, you're coming up onto the clock soon.
Yeah. I need a forward again, or a centre. I don't have a centre yet. So
They thin out.
probably looking to shore up my free throws a little bit. So, like LaMelo, I don't think he's great. Kevin Porter, not great. Harden and Booker. So it's sort of balanced. I'm sort of probably about in the middle in free throws at the moment. So I probably, given that I'm going guard heavy, I need to actually be good at free throws.
Hard to get big volume free throw shooters at this point in the draft.
It is. So I've got two guys I'm sort of tossing up between, again, who are sort of guard, or sort of have a guard profile but are forward eligible. Just trying to decide which one to go for. I think I'm good for assists, so I'm going to go this route. I'm going to take Norman Powell.
Okay.
Threes. Yep.
Yeah, threes, free throws. I don't really need assists because I've got Harden, LaMelo, Kevin Porter. They could all easily get 8 assists a game each.
Yep.
Yeah, I think James Harden will be upwards of 10 this season.
Yeah, and Garland as well. Sorry, he's down the bottom of my list there. Garland could get 6 or 7 as well. So
I don't mind it. I'm personally a little bit lower on Powell than this point, but at this point of the draft, it's, horses for courses.
Look,
You sort of
pick 78.
Yeah.
So
if you like him.
yeah, once you get past about pick 70, pick 80, it's really you draft for need really, as opposed to best player available.
All right, we are getting down. Chris on the board. Mitchell Robinson just went. Jeremy Grant has gone. So a bit of a forward run, centre run going on still at the moment. I think most of the reliable centres are off the board. What are you thinking in a couple of picks' time, Cal?
Look, I'm kind of okay with my centers. Maybe my last pick, I have a bit of a flyer. I just want to kind of lock in just what's going to fit my build. I still want more points. I still probably want, if I can get some more steals, I'll go for steals. So I'm looking at guards. Chris just took D'Lo, D'Angelo Russell. I was actually quite keen for him. I think he'll be good for points this season, great for threes.
I think he slipped a fair bit there. I think he probably should have gone a bit earlier than that, personally.
Yeah, I totally agree. He was probably next to my board. He's great. I'm really looking forward to what he's going to put through this season, especially with a healthy Karl Anthony Towns. I think that pick and pop game will be huge. He could average 8 assists a game.
Yeah, well, he could. He's. I think he got close to that in Brooklyn. So it's just a health factor thing for him. But I'm feeling some good things coming out of Minnesota these days. I'm optimistic that they might be able to make a run, and when a team's more competitive, those injuries seem to magically, heal a little faster. So maybe that's what's going to be the case over in Minnesota. All right, 10 seconds for the Bombers to pick, and then Callum, you're up on the board. Where are we at? Pick number 82. So we're getting close to those later round picks now. RJ Barrett's off the board.
Okay, I'm up. Well, I'm going to go with this guy. He's been in my list. Mike Conley, obviously, doesn't really do anything in rebounds. Field goal's pretty bad. But in that punt build, he is pretty much like a top 30 player. Gets you assists, gets you threes. Points is okay. Gets you some pretty good steals as well. So Mike Conley, come join my team.
I like it. I think it's a good pick. I think at this point in the draft, those assists are going to start to come off really quickly. So it's going to be...
And my team should be strong in assists. I don't want to be losing that at all any week, just being kind of like that punt rebounds. Those guard stats, I really want to be winning.
Yeah, so you're leaning pretty heavy into those punt builds there. Let me just check out your team here, Callum. What have we got? Yeah, okay. Jaren Jackson Jr., Miles Turner, you're only really non-guard players. So, yeah, really leaning heavy into those categories. I like what you've done so far, mate. I like what you've done so far.
Back on the board, I'm going to pick, just to kind of lock in my build, I will take my last center, and maybe I'll have a last flyer, but I'm going to probably, it's a bit of a reach, but I'm happy in this range. Where are we? 80? Yeah, 86. I'm taking Brook Lopez. Once again, blocks. I will be strong in blocks for a pump rebounding team, and that's kind of hard to lock in with this build. But Jaren Jackson Jr., Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, probably are the 3 guys you want as your big man in a punt rebounding build. It is hard to do. There's not many of those guys on the board, but I think Brook Lopez probably is dropping in drafts just because of that value. He can still hit threes pretty reasonably as well.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a very unique team that will catch a few other maybe punt field goal percentage teams off guard in terms of those block stats in a head-to-head league, which is important. It's always good to have a bit of, in my opinion, like a bit of a unique flair. You know, you sort of get these like vanilla teams in terms of, okay, punting field goal percentage and blocks, or punting free throw percentage and threes. So it's good to add a little bit of spice there, so you've got a bit of a unique advantage or a swing stats to get you over the line. Jeez, Chris Kaysen gets Jonathan Isaac, his boy. I know he's got him in Dynasty, so I know he's pretty keen for him. All right, Adam, you're back on the clock here, mate.
Yeah, I wanted Bogdan there, so he's gone. Well, what are we at now? 90. Still feel like I need to shore up my free throws a bit, which, as we said, it's tricky to do because this time of the draft, you're not getting high volume guys. I do know of a guy who's good for free throws, good for points. Doesn't really get steals, but he is a forward, so I'm going to take him. And this is a lot earlier. I just can't think of a forward that's going to get me that free throw boost. So I'm going to go the other Bogdanovic.
Oh, the Bogdanovic in 2 in 3 picks.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. I've actually landed him in almost every mock draft I've done. I think people are just really down on him after last year, but if you look at his numbers, he finished the season as a top sort of 70 player. Yeah,
the year before he was definitely getting drafted here, if not earlier. Yeah. So, probably poor taste in people's mouth after interrupted season last year with a few injuries and things like that. So
and he was really good during the playoffs for them as well. Look, I think I would see someone like Joe Ingles taking a step back before I see Bogdanovic taking a step back. So
I would agree there. All right, now I'm on the board, on the deck, as they say in fantasy basketball. Kelly Olynyk goes the down the stretch fantasy MVP of last year. I think at this point, 94. That's fine to have him there. I think he's probably about this point. I know, Callum, you're a bit further back on Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, look, he was with a team that were pretty rubbish. Let's face it. He's changed now, a bit of a change of scenery. In Miami, he kind of was a bit of a waiver wire guy.
Yeah. Detroit's still pretty rubbish, though. Let's be fair. Detroit's still pretty rubbish.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to have that starting position. I think they're going to go with Isaiah Stewart. So if he's a bench guy, I'm just not sure the fantasy output will be there.
No, I agree. I'm just stirring you up. All right. Oh, you're kidding me. Jesus Christ. That was my guy, Jalen Suggs.
Jalen Suggs. I'm very excited for Jalen Suggs this season. I think he can be elite. Steals could be good. Assists. I think the turnovers, will be there. Field goal might not be ideal. But he could end up being rookie of the year. He could end up being, in terms of fantasy, steals can be important.
I do love me some Jalen Suggs. All right, well, that throws a spanner in my plans. Maybe I pivot and go to a big man at this point in the draft. Yeah, I think I might do that. I do have Derek White, Cade Cunningham. I've got some assists from Chris Middleton and Jimmy Butler, so my assists aren't looking too bad. Probably need to shore up some more rebounds and blocks. I don't love it, but I think this is one of the last big guys left who I like as a player. Wendell Carter, pick 96. I think he's a better player than Mo Bamba. I'm expecting him to get center minutes and sort of maybe push up 28 plus a game. Hopefully he can get closer to 30 minutes a game, but we will see how that mixes out. But what are your thoughts on Wendell Carter, Adam?
Look, it's a tricky one in Orlando because I think they're very different. Bumba and Carter bring very different things to the floor. So I think Carter probably starts. And I don't know, if you had to sort of summarize it, I think I'd say that Carter is safer and I think will play more minutes, but Bumba probably has more upside per minute. So
I would agree there.
Yeah, I think they'll go in a fair, like I think Bumba might go fairly soon in this draft. I think they're both top 100-ish sort of targets. But again, as we touched on, it depends on what teams are looking for at this stage.
Also in a 14-team league, I think you probably do want those safer guys at, say, 100 versus if you're around 100 in a 12 or a 10-team league, you are looking for a bit more of that upside because we've still got a fair bit of our roster to sort of make up and still complete. So for that reason, I err on the side of a safer guy at this point.
Yeah, one thing I want to bring up, which is completely unrelated, but something I've noticed just in mock drafts in general and in this one as well, is how much Marcus Smart is falling this year.
Yeah.
I mean, often, but this is the first year where he's going to be starting. He's generally always been a potential starter, but probably coming off the bench. And he gets drafted at 50, 60, 70, and he's going closer to 100 this season, even though he's going to be starting. So I just think it's interesting and a really nice sort of guy to keep an eye on if you need some steals and assists late.
Yep. All right, it's back over to me now. I am on the clock. I've got a couple of guys in my queue. I think at this point of the draft, this is my final sort of spot to get some big assists, and I think in my build, this guy here is going to be a little bit higher in terms of value. He's going to give me some good rebounds from the guard position, which I am looking to stay strong, and I don't care the fact that he can't shoot threes. It might be a bit early, especially in a 14-team league, but I went the safer pick on the last one, so I'm going to be taking the Aussie, Josh Giddey, at this point, just to shore up those assists, rebounds for me in the guard position. We got a few Aussies in the board here. What do we all think of Josh Giddey?
I love Josh Giddey for a rebounder. Look, his points won't be great. I'll say that, but I think his rebounds and assists should be pretty good. And at this point in the draft, you picked him up at 101. I think it can be pretty useful. You'd like to get some defensive stats. That's probably a bit of a question mark. Yep. His 3-point per game won't be great either, so you'd have to consider that. But as a late round pick, just for some rebounds as a guard position, can be pretty useful.
What about you, Adam? Are you giddy for Giddey?
A little bit. Again, taking him here is fine. I think he'll be. It's not like the Thunder have many other options at this stage, so it would make sense for them to just run him out there from day one and see what he can do. Because I think he's an interesting. Well, he profiles very interestingly, so he's not your typical sort of point guard or. It'll just be for them. It'll be about fit and where they need him on the floor and what they need him to do. So no, I like him there. Right. And Markkanen just went off. I wanted Markkanen there. Yeah,
interesting to see what's going on over in Cleveland. The signings have been confusing from my point of view, but do you think Markkanen starts?
I think so. I think just given the amount of money they've paid him.
Yeah, I would assume the same thing. I'll let you talk through your pick here.
Yeah, I know who I want. I was just looking for maybe he's gone. I had someone in mind and maybe he slipped through and got drafted, but
he's been sniped, and this is when we have to improvise.
He did, yeah. So Evan Fournier is who I was looking at. He must have
fallen. He was in my list.
Oh, there he is there, yeah. Okay. So yeah, okay. I'm going to take a rookie, just because why not? It's a mock draft, and I like to have at least one rookie on my team. So I'm going to go Jalen Green.
He did slide a fair way, Jalen.
I'm pretty happy. I'd be very happy with that pick. He was next to my draft board. We're saying it's hard to get points. I guarantee. Give me a guarantee, Mitch.
Oh yes, I'll throw you one.
Guarantee.
He's going to put up 20 points a game.
Oh, big call.
He will.
20 in a rookie season
at 106th pick, 20-point per game player.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think he's probably going to rank better than someone like who I took with Giddey in terms of the end of the season, but in terms of what he gives me, I was not as keen on his threes and one of the assists from Giddey. So, yeah, I think that's a good pick there.
Yeah, so I still don't have a centre.
Klay Thompson. I was actually eyeing down Klay. He fits my build. I could have paired the Splash Brothers, but he goes off the board at 109. He will be out for about the first month, but when he comes back, there's no reason why he can't just be elite in threes like he always has been. Points pretty solid as well.
Yeah, look, I personally want to get him a little bit later, but again, it's after the 100 pick mark. If you're confident, if you feel like you can make your playoffs, then there's no problem picking Clay at this point. But I don't know. Maybe he's someone who gets points in threes, obviously at a very high level. But outside of that, even when he's healthy, it's not like, he's not getting all those steals, blocks, assists that you do love. So for me, he's not as exciting. All right, Callum, you're up in the next pick. Who are you thinking here, mate?
Look, I really don't know. I'm kind of panicking at this point in time. There's a few. I don't really have many forwards. I only have one forward eligible player, apparently.
You can mix and match. I know we're all a bit, you and I are both newer to Fantrax, but you can mix and match.
You can mix and match. Well, look, I'm on the clock now.
Andre Drummond, jeez.
Look, I don't mind Sadiq Bey. I did like what he put up last season. He'll get the minutes this season. He from a week-to-week guy, he could be pretty good. I think it'd be pretty hot and cold, though. I mean, DeAndre Hunter's still there. Can give me some blocks at this point. I'm pretty competitive in blocks. I am kind of feeling pretty solid in that category. Maybe I just go for like more of a three-pointer specialist just to make sure I'm winning that with Steph Curry. I already am competitive regardless with Steph Curry.
We got 18 seconds. 17 seconds, yeah.
I mean, Malik Beasley was a 20-point guy last season.
Do you think he does that again with Anthony Edwards stepping up? And
Keldon Johnson is an interesting one. Maybe he takes a step up. I feel like I need a forward. I'm going to take Keldon Johnson. I think he's got a good season ahead of him. The young San Antonio Spurs.
Yep.
I think he's due for a blowout season. Let's go. He's had some time under his belt now. A bit of a waiver kind of pick at the end there, but for 111, for a guy that I imagine will get good minutes, I think that's a pretty solid pick.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely upside there. You worry about the lack of like defensive stats and those sort of things, but if that's you might already have that sort of with your team. So if you're looking for some points, some solid rebounds, some threes, I think Keldon Johnson has the opportunity in front of him to get a lot of minutes, and with that, the opportunity to get a lot of fantasy stats. So I don't hate it, don't love it, but don't hate it. Just to throw some cold water on your pick there, Cal. All right, what are we up to? You're coming back around with another pick here. Oh, yep, Will Barton, Dennis Schroeder just went. Don't really love those picks. Don't really see too much upside there. But again, 14-team league, a bit safer. Who do you want here, Cal?
I'm going to take... Maybe I do want one more big guy. I feel pretty competitive of what I need my output. The guards aren't screaming at me, though. It's an interesting point in the draft this time. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. could be a fit. Just get me some points and threes. That's about all he offers. Maybe I will. I'm going to go. I think this is where he can give me some value, a bit of an upside pick in Mo Bamba. Once again, blocks, threes. I want to be competitive in blocks.
Yep.
My points right now probably is an issue. I can't really pick up points at this point in the draft, but that's okay. I think steals, assists, 3-pointers, blocks. I'm actually really, really well. I'm doing really well in free throw percentage as well. There's no one really that hurts me at all.
Yeah, we highlighted
very competitive.
We highlighted with your team earlier the pick of Chris Paul in the second round in terms of like the points and could you come back from that? It's tough. Like it puts you in a tough hole. Like someone who scores less than 20 points per game in the second round, it doesn't sound like it's the end of the world, but when you're surrounding him with all those other guys that are scoring those 25, 20 plus points per game, it is a bit of a holder that you've got to sort of try and get yourself out of. So do you think that you haven't done that, or?
I think, unfortunately, I've fallen into the hole a bit with the points. I think you're right. It's probably going to end up being a soft punt. I'm still going to be somewhat competitive,
yeah,
but I can imagine losing most weeks, sadly.
Yeah, it's one thing that you got to keep an eye on, and like you said, just stay flexible and sort of look after all your other categories as well. All right, so we've got Dylan Brooks coming off the board here. One of my players that I'm probably lower on than most people. Dylan Brooks, the Defensive Player of the Year, Dylan Brooks, that everyone was touting him to be.
He had no off night. I'll make that clear.
Yeah, no off night, Jesus Christ.
Off night for Defensive Player of the Year.
On this podcast, Adam, I'm known as the off night hater. I'm a big, not a believer in
the off night.
Yeah, in the off night in Davion Mitchell.
Hater, absolute hater. I'm a big fan. Love his game. I love watching him play as well. No one hustles more than that man. He can move his feet laterally better than anyone. Maybe outside of Lou Dort. Him and Lou Dort are similar players for that regard.
Does it give me fancy
remember
stats?
that Lou Dort game where he just went off?
Yeah, he did go crazy. He was in the playoffs, I think, a couple of years ago. All right, you're on the clock here, Adam.
Yeah, so I wanted Dylan Brooks here, actually, just because, again, he fitted what I was looking for. He would have bought me points and some steals, so with obvious defensive upside. So, got someone in mind. So you touched on him before, so I'm gonna grab Sadiq Bey there.
Yep,
that's a great spot. I did consider him a few picks beforehand. I think he's due for a good season. He's going to get minutes. He'll get threes, points ish.
Yeah, look, I think he's good for threes. He's a good free throw shooter. He'll get some steals, that sort of thing, but he'll be on the court, so he's gonna get plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think
with these picks,
fine.
that's what you need, right? You just need minutes at the 119 range.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got opportunity.
And roster update, I still don't have a center.
No center for Adam. Let's have a look at your team over here so that people can see it on the video. Yeah, looking like, we've got lots of guards there, lots of threes, lots of points.
Yep, lots of assists. Lots of steals.
Yep. We are lacking in those roster positions, though. We'll see how that comes around and see what kind of value you can get later in the draft.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is a pretty common punt for me, so I often find myself in this situation. So I know who my late round targets are for centers.
Okay.
One of them is Olynyk, but he seems to be going earlier than I think he should be.
Yeah,
in a lot of drafts.
He went just before pick 100 in this draft, so obviously.
Yeah, that's about where I want him, but he normally goes the round before I want him, and then PJ Washington is another a player that fits this build as well.
I am keen on PJ Washington, and I would take him, before Olynyk. But I think he went like that. It's up to me now. Okay, all right, good. My guy made it all the way back to me. Callum knows I love this dude, and I think he is in for a big season. Fits my build very nicely here. Going to give you some blocks. Going to give you some steals, and that is my guy, Jaden McDaniels. Pick 124. I'm pretty happy with that in terms of upside. I think he could definitely be a top 100 player this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess he starts.
Springboks loves it.
He does. Look, it's still a bit murky, that power forward spot in Minnesota. But I think McDaniels is the player that you'd want to be targeting. Torian Prince is there now as well, but
they've talked him up though. They've talked him up as being one of the center pieces, along with Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Edwards. So he's sort of one of their core pieces. Of course, you've got the worry about the Ben Simmons deal, but who knows what's going on with that? So I'm not really putting that into my decision making much at all.
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah,
not at this. Yeah, it's pretty messy. It's pretty ugly in Philadelphia.
Just on that, while we go through these last few picks, what is your thoughts on Ben Simmons in terms of if he gets traded? Do you think that his value can get lower than where it's at the Philadelphia? Do you think that it's only upside from there?
Yeah, I don't think it can go down. Even if it's purely because if for some reason he does come back to Philly and actually turns up for the first game, there's got to be issues with morale and chemistry and all that. You would think that being professionals, they would act professional and do what's best for the team.
Yeah, did we see that with James Harden last year?
But that's right. Yeah, it's these guys, a lot of them aren't like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just don't pass him the ball, or
it could get ugly really quickly. So
he might refuse to shoot in the fourth quarter, which would be a huge upset, wouldn't it?
Well, I was going to say, we've already got that baked into his in his projections, don't we? I'm expecting him to be a bit more aggressive, though. I mean, you would hope after all the criticisms he got, he should be looking to score a bit more. So I do think that his scoring will increase, and he's a good field goal percentage contributor. So I think that will increase as well. And we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm back on the clock here. Oh, and my guy Evan Mobley got taken 2 picks before me. All right, who am I looking at here? Daniel Gafford went earlier, someone who I was looking at.
Yeah, I like Gafford this season. Yeah.
Probably looking for another big guy at this point. They're thinning out. They're thinning out very quickly here. Maybe I go with a boring pick. I'm looking for someone.
Was TJ McConnell drafted?
Yeah, he was drafted earlier. I was going to
was.
touch on him before. He was drafted fairly early.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
About
There.
97 or so.
Yeah, 97, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit early for me.
Yeah, much too early for myself as well. Just don't think there's much upside there.
No.
All right, I'm panicking a bit here. Let's just go with someone who I know is safe. He's going to give me good percentages. He's going to give me good rebounds. Let's go with... I don't love it. Ivica Zubac. I'm trying to look after both my percentages here. Zubac is someone that can do that for me and still give me a big boost to my field goal and rebounds, so hence the pick. But I kind of panicked a little bit there, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. What are your thoughts about Zubac? In a 14-team league, I probably wouldn't draft him in a 12-team league at this point, but I do want some kind of value still. We've still got 3 players left to pick.
Yeah, he's pretty much the only real big man left in that roster that's really going to get minutes. I'm not too sure what's happening with Ibaka. They might play it really safe, which means he might just be resting. So he pretty much is really slotted in for a pretty reasonable season. But look, they love that small lineup. As something we saw in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
even if he is the only center on that roster, he probably won't get more than 24 minutes a night.
It'll be a nightly basis thing, depending who they're versing, what big he's going to go up against. So he could really pay off in some weeks, and some weeks he will have downs, is what I'd imagine.
But what you are seeing here is I think the centers, I think we highlighted this in our center tiers, they fall off a cliff after like round 7 or 8 there. Like there's really no one who you're really confident getting lots of minutes there. I think it is important to get a few centers in those middle rounds before the late round picks come in. As Adam, you are finding over there with your centerless lineup.
Yeah, look, I've got 3 centers in my queue.
Okay.
I'm just wondering whether I can hold off for another round.
Jeez, he's getting greedy.
But yeah, pick 130. What are we at? 132. So I'll be pick 134. I probably need to make the call.
It probably is that time, but you can still pay it off. We got a few more picks left.
I mean, in your build, you're only really looking for a few specific things from your centers, and that's probably your threes and maybe a trickle of assists and steals there. So
yeah, look, it's probably that's right. It's one of the stats that I'm strong in. I'm not going to get a center that helps me in everything at this point. Right. It's more about one that will help me a little bit, but not hurt me in other categories. All
right, you're on the board now. You're on the clock.
Yeah. I'm just... and I don't need field goal percentage. Look, I'm going to go for Poku.
Oh, the Poku.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
He's forward center. I like it. It's a good player to have.
Long-time listeners will know that I'm a big Poku fan.
Yeah, and again, it's the Thunder. So I was sort of looking at him and Roby there. I think they're both okay.
Yep.
Late round centers to target. But Poku will hit some threes, and he's intriguing. I mean, he's got to fill out a lot.
Yeah.
But
the upside's there.
I think he adds something to the team. And
do you think he starts?
I think he could. Probably not. I think Favors will start
early in the year.
Early, at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Poku can get 22 minutes a night, 24 minutes a night, then he'll do enough. He won't hurt me anywhere. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts over someone like a Baisley and they have a Poku Favors front court, starting lineup. That wouldn't surprise me. Or if it's Poku and Roby.
Yeah.
They could go a number of different ways.
Yeah, it could also change every night.
Yeah, that's right. They'll rest some people here and there. The Thunder, the lineup, it's a bit murky there because of the lack of talent, the lack of clear structure, which you expect. All right, we've got the Bombers on the board. I think the Bombers have left the draft room. They've been auto picking the last few times, so we'll see who his selection is. And yes, top of the queue, Eric Bledsoe. All right, Callum, you're up now.
All right, I'm on the clock. I think I just want to try and get some guys that'll get me points as some flyers. I'm pretty confident in a lot of other categories. So at this point, I think he's kind of fallen in my lap here. I actually quite like Gary Trent Jr. when he got traded to Toronto. He was getting close to a 20-point per game kind of guy. They go into the youth movement. I think they really want to give him minutes. They will. Kyle Lowry's out of there. So I really think he's kind of slots in to that 2-guard position now. So I'm going to take him. Points and threes.
I was actually shocked to find out that Gary Trent Jr. is younger than Malachi Flynn, which I discovered the other day, which I was a bit surprised to find that out. Did you know that, Cal?
No, that's a surprise to me, actually. So, yeah. I mean, once again, they go on the full youth movement. I think Flynn Moore is the guy off the bench. Trent Jr., he can score. Like, he had some 30-point games. I don't want my fantasy team as a bit of a waiver wire ad, and he had some value.
Yeah, I think, especially this part of the draft and with the deeper format, I think, that's a fine pick there. All right, you're going to be coming back around to the turn here. So here's where, look, I don't love a lot of these picks. We're right into flyer territory now. We've got, how many have we got? We've got three players left to pick, or 4 players left to pick. So this is where we start taking swings. Mason Plumlee went off the board. He was the last player in my queue for the centre position. I think he'll start.
Yeah, he was the third centre I had.
Okay. So he was never making it back to me. Yeah, all right. Let's see how we go. What have we got now? One more pick and then it's back onto you, Cal.
Yeah, I'm still thinking I'm probably going to go more of the guards once again. I'm considering I like Tyler Hero there. He on a week to week. He had a down season last season, yes. He could bring it back. He could end up being a top 100 guy. Definitely. I think he kind of does lock into, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Kyle Lowry. Outside of that, Tyler Hero probably is the next lead ball handler. So he should get pretty reasonable usage. Scotty Barnes off the board. That's interesting. He should get, I mean, if you're punting points, maybe Scotty Barnes could be a pretty reasonable pick. I think for 141, he's worth a flyer.
We'll see. Yeah, Pascal, Siakam's obviously out with that injury, so maybe he gets an increased opportunity at the start of the season.
So I'm looking at Tyler Hero. I mean, you still got Seth Curry there. He's always going to get minutes. There's that trade looming. I don't know what's going to happen there, but he still should just be lights out, kind of a 16-point per game guy. Do I go Seth or do I go Tyler? I think
you have to make that call.
I think Seth Curry did have a better season last season. There's no reason for it to go down. But there's more upside. I'm going to go upside pick. You know what? Let's go Tyler Hero. I'm a Heat fan, so I'm a bit probably biased.
That's all right. No, I probably would have made the same call. I don't know about Seth Curry. I think he, like you said, not really too much upside. Tyler Hero is probably going to be running that bench unit. So with Dragic out of there, I think he'll be fine at this point of the draft.
I need my points. So my last couple of picks have been more the flyers and points, but they could pay off. Gary Trent Jr., Tyler Hero, pretty much points and threes. So Tyler Hero with a bit more of the assists.
So you're trying to claw your way back into competitiveness with points.
Look, once again, they still kind of have some upside though as well. Yeah. So I'm clawing myself back into this be competitive because I think I really have to be competitive since my first round pick was the 30-point per game in Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, I respect that, and it's hard to sort of points. I always find hard to project like who's competitive where because we all kind of think we're good in points, but like when you say if you're projecting them out or you're tracking them along in some sort of draft tracker, it's a bit easier. But yeah, when you're just eyeballing it, like we're kind of trying to do, or I'm trying to do, whilst I'm recording the screen here, it is hard to sort of project who's out in front with points more than most other stats. All right, what round are we in now? Round 11, pick number 4, Chris on the board. Darius Bazley has just gone. There's a few flyers here that I'm sort of eyeing off. Some of them don't fit my build at this point. We're coming to you soon, Adam. Is this point of the draft? This is where you've got a few favourite flyers you want to throw over to the listeners.
No, well, I mean most of the drafts I've done have been 12 teams, so we'd be done by now.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I mean, I don't know, I'm just scrolling through the names here. I mean, there's obviously quite a few names in there that could be 12-team options. Brandon Clark, I love Brandon Clark, and I really hope he is, but he needs more minutes, but I'm not sure if he's going to get that. TJ Warren is still there, but the recent sort of injury update has turned people off him.
Yeah, it sounds like it reminds me a bit of Jaren Jackson Jr. of last season. Personally, you're on the board here, Adam.
Oh, I am. Oh, crap.
20 seconds.
Who was I? Oh, that's who I was looking at there.
Waiting with bated breath. Here we are.
The classic.
Yes.
Poole.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was one of my flyers.
I've got Poole in a couple of leagues, and look, I might only get 2 months worth of production out of him until Klay Thompson's back, but that's fine. At this point, I'll take that.
100%. Yeah, no, I think that's a fine selection. I do think I like his upside, and I think he was showing really good signs at the end of last season. So I am a big fan of Jordan Poole. I selected him in our last mock draft towards the end of the rounds there. All right, so I'm getting to me now. Again, we're looking at a bit of upside, bit of flyer territory here. Oh, Jamal's not happy he took Jordan Poole. You sniped him, Adam.
Well, he sniped me, I think, earlier, so
Payback
it all works out.
And Mitch almost tried to sabotage you to distract you when your pick was on. So I think you did well.
He did, a very sneaky strategy.
The draft tactics. The draft tactics. Throw anything you can do in a draft on draft day, as long as you keep it friendly, I suppose. All right, let's go. Let's go on, people. Let's speed this up towards the end here. That's it. Nicholas Batum off the board, Joe Harris on the board, Steven Adams off the board. All fairly boring players, but at this point in the draft, 14-team leaguer, you can afford to be a little bit more boring, in my opinion.
I think Nick Batum has a bit of a ceiling just for his way out. I think he's locked in some minutes there because they kind of play like small ball center with him even at some points. So I think he is a pretty versatile pick at this point. This just for a punt points team, especially.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to continue the safe-ish train. Someone who I think will get minutes at the start of the season. But we'll see how it goes with the injury and return of Markelle Fultz. But I'm going to go with Cole Anthony there. Should get me some good assists late in the draft, which could be hard to find. He's got some deficiencies, but I think he's okay there and should have opportunities. Even when Fultz is back, they should run a pretty strong 3-man rotation with him, Fultz, and what's that rookie's name? I'm blanking.
Suggs,
yeah, Jalen Suggs. Ricky Rubio off the board. Yeah, we're into backup territory now.
I mean, you got RJ Hampton now at Magic. You certainly know what's going to happen. I feel like Cole Anthony and Suggs do have the keys. But RJ Hampton will get some opportunity. They might even have like the 3-guard lineup as well. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they play a bit of RJ Hampton at the 3 position. He's probably the only one that can do it out of that lot. We'll see how it goes with like the injury to Fultz and Isaac, which will move some things around and see how long they're out for and how cautious they are, which I imagine they will be fairly cautious with their young players, and I don't think they're necessarily ready to win just yet. So I am banking on that with the selection with Cole Anthony there. I've got a guy on my queue here, Cal, which I think you're going to appreciate, who I think I'm going to be ready to take a bit of a swing on.
Yep.
I'll keep the listeners in a bit of suspense. I'll announce that pick in a couple of selections time. Assume he doesn't get shanked from me. We're in round 12 of 14. So a few more picks left to go. This draft. We'll go deeper than most, but for any of you guys listening along in the deep draft, you got to have these deep round flies. You got to have these guys who are ready to go, who have opportunity ahead of them. If things fall their way, you can get some good value. All right, loading up my queue here.
Well, you're a couple picks away. Will you get sniped, Mitch?
Will I get sniped? This is the question. I'm pretty confident he'll be there.
I'm very surprised Favors hasn't gone.
Yeah, look,
yep.
I don't know. I'm well off Favors. I mean, yes, he probably will start at the start of the season. I just think he's going to get that Horford treatment, and it's such a headache. And
I think he will, but
he's not as good of a player at Horford. Yeah.
No, he's not. But I think if he's getting 26, 28 minutes a night, he'll be a top 100 player.
Do you think he's getting 26, 28 minutes a night?
I think he might for the first couple of months. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just basing that on what they did with Horford last year. But
yeah.
Yeah, so if you trade him at the right time, get his value up. Because I tend to agree. I think he will probably be throwing some minutes to start the season, be competitive with the lineup, and then
There
he
he
could
goes.
just get picked.
Yeah.
It's good time that we're talking about
yeah,
him, but
there he goes,
he
yeah.
would be like a mid-season trade option. I'd try to be looking for, just because Al Horford, I had him on my team last season, and I wrote Al Horford out, and he obviously ended up letting me down a little bit because he was shut down.
Yeah, I see it a little bit different. I don't see Favors as much of a trade. I'm just going to select my guy. Here's your guy here, Callum. The big Sengun.
Oh, you're getting Sengun.
Yeah.
Joining the bandwagon. He will be a fantasy beast.
Yes, he just needs some minutes.
Sad to see him go.
But back on Favors, I don't know. I don't see the trade value that Horford had, and the reason that Horford was getting minutes on the Thunder was to boost his trade value. I don't see that in Favors, so I don't see any reason that the Thunder really have to play him over a lot of their young guys, because I just don't think that they're gonna get him to a point where he's actually worth anything, personally. But I mean, it could go either way. I'm not as sold on it, and I don't really want the headache to deal with when I could still get players who I think have higher upside, like the big Sengun. What are your thoughts on Alperoon, Adam?
Yeah, look, I honestly haven't dug that much into him and into his numbers, but from like listening to you guys, but listening to a lot of analysts, they're quite high on him and what he could do. A little bit sort of reminds me a little bit of the hype. Well, I don't know if hype's the right word, but there was a bit of chatter about Goga Badadze and what he could do if he gets minutes and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, he's not someone that I'm targeting, but from what I'm hearing, he has a nice fantasy game.
Yeah, he does. He's one of those per-minute monster kind of guys that if he gets minutes, it's just going to translate to fantasy stats. The question is the minutes.
So I'm back on the clock.
Pick 162 we're at.
Pick 162.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go Killian Hayes
Yeah, I think that's a great pick.
there.
Great pick, yeah.
Didn't
Late
get to
round
see-
assists.
Yeah, didn't get to see much of him last year. I know Josh Lloyd is pretty high on Killian Hayes.
I was also high on him coming into the draft. I've soured a fair bit since since seeing his first season, but they'll give him a chance.
Yeah, I think so. So 30 minutes a night, you would think he'll get, I don't know, 6 assists and
He'll get you some steals.
1.3 steals maybe.
Yeah.
So, he won't score a lot, but
Yep, percentages
have
would be
it all.
horrible. Percentages would be horrible, but at pick 162, yep, you can't ask for too much more. And on
No.
your team,
His
on
points
your
were
team, you don't
pretty lousy as well, but I feel like last season it couldn't get any worse than it did.
Yeah.
Right. So he's hit his floor. It's only up from here.
Yeah.
And I think it only helps that, you got Cade Cunningham beside him. They will kind of share that point guard duties. And then maybe in the second unit, he'll kind of lead that as the point guard to get your dimes, get the assists. So I think he definitely could be a top 100 player.
If we can read anything into Summer League, he was the primary distributor outside of Cade for the most part. I don't know if we can read anything into Summer League, and Cade is obviously new to the team, but I still think that he's going to get plenty of opportunities to rack up those assists and play make and do all those fun things for the Pistons.
yeah, I actually think, Pistons, they're obviously not going to really challenge, but teams like the Pistons, the Magic, the Rockets, they're really fun to watch.
They are.
With your fantasy goggles on, because it's such an unknown as to who is going to play minutes, who's going to put up production. It's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. It's part of what the reason we play fantasy, so we can get enjoyment from all those other teams that you otherwise wouldn't normally be watching, and watching the Lakers and bloody Brooklyn Nets play every game. So adds a bit of spice.
Lakers this season will be interesting.
Yeah, well, interesting to see how Westbrook runs and goes with LeBron and everything like that.
Yeah, and just the minutes, because they've got some guys there that if they're given minutes, like Kendrick Nunn's an interesting one. If he gets good minutes, he could be a sneaky sort of source of points late, but they're so deep now that you just don't know.
You've got no idea. They could have 3 guys that are only worth being drafted, or they could have a couple of guys who put their hand up. I do like one of their other guys in Taylor Horton Tucker is someone who I am watching, but again, it's just the unknown with that lineup. Not sure.
All right, so I'm taking this next pick, guys.
Yep.
What are we up to? We're up to 167. And this guy, he's kind of Mr. Reliable. Doesn't really scream at you, but I'm happy to take Kevin Huerta for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes.
Mr. Fanapants himself.
That's a great pick. I like it.
Pick. I like it. He fits my build pretty well. Can give you kind of like 3.5 assists as well, which is useful. The steals 1.2 last season. Yeah, look, the field goal isn't there. The rebounds are atrocious, but that's exactly what I'm punting. And he had some pretty good playoff games. Let's not laugh at that. I believe it was that Philly series, game 6 or maybe game 5. He was about a 27-point game and really carried them over the threshold. So I feel like they're going to throw more minutes at him. He's kind of like the secondary ball handler a bit as well. So the assist might even go up. So at this point in the draft, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, at this point in the draft, I don't think there's any really horrible picks unless you're picking someone who's not in the NBA. But Kevin Huerta, he was ranked much higher than this last year. You worry a little bit about the crowded lineup over there in Atlanta. They've got a lot. They're actually really, really deep over there in Atlanta. A lot of wings that kind of play similar positions. But last year there was a lot of injuries that happened and sort of create opportunities for other guys. So that's all you really need. And with a player like Huerta, you can sort of get some good value. You're back on the board here, Cal.
Back on the board. Well, Steph Curry's still there. So he's a pretty safe bet. He's a good fit for my team.
You were considering him a while ago.
I was. I'm also kind of looking at Terrence Mann. I like Terrence Mann for the Clips. He could be due for a bit of a blowout season, but is that ceiling going to be higher than Seth Curry? Seth Curry really is just kind of points and threes, and even then, his points. I mean, he can on a week-to-week basis. He only averaged 12.5, but he can have the 30-point game output here and there. He can get pretty hot. I've got someone even like a Jalen Brunson I could consider. He was pretty good to close out the season. He probably still is going to obviously lock in that 6-man role. Points, rebounds, assists were okay.
12 seconds on the clock.
I'm just going to go with Seth Curry. Let's go. We'll get the Curry brothers together. I think it's the right thing to do.
He's united the Curry brothers. Here we go. Yeah, no, I don't mind. Like you said, if you were considering him a couple of rounds ago at this point, then you've obviously made that right decision when you picked. I can't remember who you picked instead of him.
I ended up getting Tyler Hero.
That's right.
Yeah. A bit more of an upside pick, and I've got a fair few upside players on my team, so I'm kind of happy just to probably lock someone in a bit more secure towards the end here.
And this is where you can get a lot of those, like your last 3 picks have been Tyler Hero, Kevin Huerta, Seth Curry. There's a lot of threes there, which is what we always say. I think we went Gary Trent Jr. Slightly before then as well. A lot of big threes players. So whenever I sort of do my evaluations, I always bump down the value of threes a little bit, just because you can get those big 3-point volume shooters at the end of drafts. Yes, they don't give you a lot of other stats, but it definitely is the easiest stat to get at the end of drafts because everyone's shooting threes in the NBA today.
Yeah, and for someone like my team punting the field goal, and as I said, I did want to get some points as well. And those guys, on a week-to-week basis, can explode a bit. That's what you're getting with the 3-point shooters. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for to be competitive in 3-pointer, is just to have the big weeks where people get hot.
Chris just drafted my guy, Nicholas Claxton there. A bit of an upside play. I like it. I like the pick there, Chris. Nick Claxton, he's got the upside. Whether or not he gets the minutes with all those old guys there in Brooklyn, we'll see. But at this point in the draft, pick 172, 173, I think he's fine there. What are your thoughts on Clacko there, Adam?
Oh, he's a funny one. I mean, it makes sense that he should be starting, but they are so loaded in the front court that it's possible that they all just get like 12 minutes each, really. Yep. So he obviously has the most upside out of all those guys. And no DeAndre Jordan helps, but with LaMarcus Aldridge coming back.
Paul Millsap's there as well. And
Millsap, Blake Griffin looked pretty good last season when he came across because they managed him quite well. So, it's a little bit of a gamble. I think taking. I mean, at this point, it's fine, obviously. But he could be a top 100 player if everything goes his way. But I'm just not sure that happens. So I'm on the clock.
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah. I've got 3 in my queue. I'm going to go with Josh Richardson.
The Boston Celtic, Josh Richardson.
The Boston, yeah. So I'm hoping.
Do you think he starts?
I think so.
So you're thinking a Marcus Smart, Richardson, Brown, Tatum kind of lineup?
Yeah, so Smart, Richardson, Brown, Tatum, and I hope Robert Williams, only because I have him in my big money league.
Yeah, he's in my main dynasty league, so I'm hoping the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean they paid him, so I don't think he's not going to play 30 minutes, but I don't really want him to play 30 minutes. I just hope that he starts and plays maybe 26 minutes. That would be ideal, I think.
All right, it's a rush through to me. I'm on the clock here. I'm going to be picking another upside play here. He's going to get lots of minutes. Whether or not that converts to fantasy stats, we'll see. But I'm going to be going with Isaac Okoro here. Started to put it together towards the end of last season. He's one of the only wings on that team. There's not a lot of wings on the Cleveland Cavs, and hopefully he can generate some steals with those minutes. He's a good defender, but not one of the best stealers. So we will see. Isaac Okoro is my selection there. Picks are flying off the board now. We had Terrence Mann go, which I like as a good upside play with Kawhi out this season. Facu Campazzo is good in this sort of point in the draft. Steals and assists, especially with a deeper team, deeper league format. I do like that pick. Monty Morris went 2 picks before him. What do we think about the Morris Campazzo starting point guard in Denver? Who do we think's got the role there, Cal? Do you think it's Campazzo or Morris?
I mean, in the playoffs, we saw Campazzo. I think during the regular season, they'll still both get kind of similar minutes anyway. So I still feel like it's probably a reasonable pick. He put up, 10 points, 3 assists a game, which can be useful on reasonable shooting, about 48% from the field. So as this kind of late flyer, he can be. He would have fit my build. It's actually on my watch list.
Yeah, I think Campazzo's got the higher upside of the two. We want him to get minutes to get more fantasy stats, but I personally don't. Oh, there's my guy Malachi Flynn going. I think both of them are kind of stealing minutes away from each other. However, so in a normal 12-team league, I probably wouldn't bother drafting either of them. But obviously, 14 teams, we're well into the pick 180s now, so we're reaching a little bit. Dante DiVincenzo goes there. I think that's a solid pick. I think he should still be the starting shooting guard there over in Milwaukee. Malachi Flynn, he's one of another sort of interesting topic, guys. I'll get your thoughts on him in a second, Adam, after maybe I take my pick here. But a bit of a hype guy that I think a lot of people are getting excited for on fantasy Twitter because, obviously he's someone on a per-minute basis who does all right. They obviously traded Kyle Lowry. Gary Trent Jr. is still there, so he's probably not starting, although maybe they do opt for him to play over Gary Trent. What are your thoughts on Flynn and his fantasy season this year, or maybe towards the second half of the year?
A tricky one because, last season he had some opportunity and he had some really good stretches of games, and then he would sort of fall away and not really do much. So consistency, I think, is what it's about for him. Whether he starts, I'm not sure. As you said, he is older than people think. He's not like a 21-year-old guy who's been in the league for 12 months and has a lot of growth. So I think maybe they start Trent and bring Flynn off the bench, but it's a really hard situation to project at the moment, and hopefully in preseason we get a bit of an idea of how teams like this are going to roll out their lineups.
We've had a few picks fly off the board. We're in our last round here. I've selected Markelle Fultz to pair with my previous selection of Cole Anthony. Obviously, the last pick, I'm very comfortable picking an injured player here. He can go straight into my IR spot, and I can pick someone off the waiver wire. And I like handcuffing those players in Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz together. So at least I've got one of the guards on the Orlando roster there. It's coming around again to your pick now, Adam. Tyrese Maxey's just gone off the board.
Yeah, I was looking at Gallo there as an option, but he went at 188.
What's the status on your center situation here? Have we how many centers?
I've got one. I only need one. That's
okay,
fine.
just one.
Is the one you're going to explode for the second?
Poku is just going to carry me this season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Otto Porter with my last one, and we'll see.
Are you normally comfortable going into a season with one centre on your roster? You don't want to, like, say you come up to a high volume day and Poku's not playing, you don't have that roster spot on the day. Is that something that you don't really care too much about?
Doesn't bother me too much. I figure that if I've punted well and I've built a really strong team, that having a centre there who is maybe going to help, like, get me 3 assists or a steal or something, it's not going to really make a difference in the scheme of things. And chances are that, 3 or 4 players on your roster are going to be dropped and you're going to be streaming in. So, it could be that Washington lose, Gafford goes down with injury and Davis Bertans slides into a 28-minute role, and I just pick him up off waivers and he comes in and gets me 4 threes a game for a week. Yeah,
that's definitely is an option. I personally like the security of having at least 2, so I can just pop someone in there. But I'm very comfortable with going 2, especially in a roster where you've got 14 players on your team. Last few picks over here, Callum. Who are you eyeing off to finish off the draft here?
So there's probably 3 guys on my watch list filling that same void of this. I'm going to get some points, bit of an upside there. I've got Lonnie Walker on my list, can be points, threes. That's probably about it, but he could be worth owning. He's obviously pretty young. He's had some minutes under his belt now over the past couple seasons, so there is some ceiling that maybe he does kind of put it all together this season. Then Jalen Brunson is another guy that I'm considering. He closed out the season very strong. His stats were actually, about 13, about 4 and 4, which at this point in the draft's pretty solid. There's only an argument that it kind of, I guess, probably should go up. I don't think anyone's really going to steal his minutes there. And the last guy I'm considering is a bit of a flyer. Is he still on the board? I was going to say, Victor Oladipo, injured player, threw him in my IR spot. I can just pick up someone else. Am I hopeful in Victor Oladipo? Probably not. I'm a bit biased being a Miami Heat fan. Even when he comes back, he's probably going to be resting games. But you know what? On the second last pick, I'll just take Oladipo and pick someone else up on the IR spot later on. Yep. He's probably going to be back maybe in January, maybe February, maybe December, if you're going to be hopeful. But
I think those kind of players like TJ Warren, Victor Oladipo, all those sort of types are sort of fine to be picking up here. I picked up a Markelle Fultz, so you can sort of have someone there, whack them on your IR. You don't lose out on anything, really.
Yeah, well, actually, Kawhi Leonard's still there. I probably should have picked him up. I regret not getting him.
Kawhi Leonard has made it the entire way through our draft, which is interesting. But, I wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play a single game this entire season. So
his picks, last pick
there
of the draft.
we go. Wow, there we go.
There we go.
All right, well, let's run through our players here, guys. Let's just quickly wrap up our teams and what our strategy was. I'll start over with you, Adam. What was your strategies? Talk us through the sort of early rounds and key picks for your team, and then we'll wrap it up.
So obviously Harden fell to me at 7, which I wasn't expecting. So going in with pick 7, I was probably targeting Jason Tatum or Damian Lillard. So one of those 2. I have gone Tatum in a lot of drafts this year so far. So I'm pretty familiar with the punt build that I would be doing with him.
Yeah.
But you can't turn down Harden at 7. So went with him, which probably impacted my strategy a bit because I had Lillard in there if I was going to go guard. I think he'll potentially lead the league in scoring or be close to it. So it impacted the points production a little bit, but increased my assists. LaMelo Ball went with it 2, and again, probably not the scoring volume that I'm looking for early in the draft, which is why I then went with did I go with Booker next, I think, with my 3rd pick. Yep. So just to shore up those points, I think that's 35, probably a fraction early for Booker, but that's probably where he's going to go in most drafts, around the 30 mark.
Yeah.
So I went with him, and then I went with Kevin Porter, did I? So
yeah, I think Kevin Porter was maybe one of the eye-popping picks of the draft, and getting him at pick 50. A fair bit higher than he has been going. Obviously, this is after the news of the John Wall stuff, so Interesting to see that you picked him that early. Obviously, fitted a need in your team, but
yeah, it gave me. It was a forward who plays like a guard, really. So, it probably a little bit higher, but I mean, it's only been less than a week since we've had that news.
Yeah.
So I think his ADP will go up
It'll
quite significantly over the next 2 weeks. Garland, I went at 63. You like that one?
Good value.
And I'm happy to take him there. I'm pretty high on him this year. Norm Powell, again, maybe a little bit higher than you need to go, but he fitted my team and gave me what I needed. Same with Bogdanovic. And then you're sort of getting down into the looking for upside. So Jalen Green at 106. I don't have him on any of my teams. So
I think that's great value after pick 100.
Yeah, another one of those Houston guys that we just want to see what he can do. After him, what did I do there? Sadiq Bey. That's probably a fairly solid pick there. I don't think there's a whole lot of upside with Sadiq Bey, but I think he'll hover around that mark for most of the season.
0.3s free throw percentage.
Yep. Then I needed a center.
We finally reached for Poku. Yep.
Yeah, got Poku. So as I said, I had a couple of centers early lined up, but
I mean, is Poku a center? I don't know, but he is eligible.
On Fantrax.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
He's eligible. So got him there, and then just sort of continued down the path of what I was looking for with points, threes, solid free throw shooters. Jordan Poole, as I said, until Clay gets back, he should be able to score 15, 16 a game. Killian Hayes is still a bit of an unknown, but assists and steals late in the draft is pretty valuable. And then Josh Richardson and Otto Porter, two guys that we know can be top 70, top 60 players, but just they've sort of fallen off the last 2 years. So just hoping that maybe a change of scenery helps them get back to, even if top 100, you'd be happy with a top 100 player at that point in the draft.
100%. Talk us through your team real quick, Cal. Just the few highlights, few things, strategy that you're going into the draft with.
Look, I was definitely eyeing down Steph Curry at the number 2 pick. That's where he should be going. I'd considered maybe obviously a Jokic, but he went number 1 as expected. So Steph Curry, I was looking into different punt strategies, maybe with blocks, maybe with the rebounds, maybe with field goal. I've landed at a rebound and punt field goal build. I probably am not as competitive in points as I'd like to be, but I'd probably salvage it a bit in the later drafts. So Steph Curry at the first pick, my second pick, then went to Chris Paul, just to lock in some good steals, assists. My assists should be incredibly elite. I don't see really myself losing that very, very regularly. Maybe that'd be a very guard heavy lineup. I would lose it too, but that should be super competitive. I then went to a couple of bigs that really fit my build in the 3rd and 4th. So Miles Turner, Jaren Jackson Jr. I looked in some blocks, guys that can get me threes as well. I feel like their value is dropped a bit just because the rebounds are so low. I mean, Miles Turner only put up about 5 rebounds a game, but the 3.4 blocks are definitely elite. And same with, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. could be sliding because he had such an injury-ridden season last season. He closed it out very confidently to a point where getting him at the 55th pick, I was pretty happy with. So locking in the bigs was important. I then went to a Mike Conley, get some more assists, get some more steals. Points should be pretty good. I looked in a Brook Lopez, once again, getting those bigs. His value does drop a lot just because, once again, the rebounds aren't there. So the punt rebound threat actually has come together for me pretty nicely. After 7, I then went for a Keldon Johnson, bit of an upside pick. The rest of my draft was a bit more upside. So Mo Bamba, after that, he could be a 2-block, 2-3 point per game guy. He will be battling minutes for the starting role, him and Wendell Carter Jr., but we both know that those Magic guys will give a lot of minutes to those two. They're going to try and test the waters. They might even play them together. Mo Bamba loves to stretch the court on offense, so that could definitely work as well. Gary Trent Jr., I'm hoping he can put up 20 points a game. That's got my 10th pick, 139. I think it's pretty good for him because he should really lock in that shooting guard role, starting role for the Toronto Raptors this season. And then I closed out, Tyler Hero. Once again, a bit more points, bit of an upside pick, should get me assists. Kevin Schroeder, 12th pick, 167th pick in the 12th round. It's pretty solid there, followed by Seth Curry and Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, I like it. I'll real quickly go through my pick. I think this is the longest podcast we've had on the fantasy podcast so far. Obviously started with Anthony Davis, who slipped to me at 12. So at that point, I decided, let's just punt the threes, and I followed up with Jimmy Butler. So at that point, I'm trying to look after my field goal percentage. I'm trying to also look after my free throw percentage so I can be competitive in both of those categories. So that sort of structured my rest of the draft, trying to get those bigs like a Rashawn Holmes, those wings, Chris Middleton, a couple of big guards in Cade Cunningham, Derek White. Obviously, I don't care about their threes. Josh Giddey is sort of the same ilk as well. Panicked a little bit later with the lack of big guys there and get the Ivica Zubac and Wendell Carter Jr., solid guys with good percentages for both things that should give me solid rebounds, maybe a trickle of blocks and stuff there, and then took a swing with a few late round guys in Sengun, Jaden McDaniels, who I seem to be getting in most drafts, Markelle Fultz to sort of round it off with an injured guy. So looking pretty solid in both percentages, good steals, good rebounds. We'll see how we go in the points. The assists I think were pretty solid as well, considering that I was punting threes, and often those things don't necessarily marry up together. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening. And if you want to follow Adam King, where can they find you, Adam, over on Twitter, or do you want to plug anything on the podcast today, mate?
So Twitter is just at AdamKing91, and plugging stuff. I mean, we've got lots of draft guide content coming out at the moment. I think I just released an article on per minute guys, so players that if they can get their minutes up, they could be really nice values this season. And then I've got an article coming out, actually, which is sort of topical in terms of something you mentioned earlier in the podcast. I think Monday or Tuesday, I've got an article coming out called Number 3, Who Will It Be? So there's, I think it was 10 players who you could potentially take at number 3 this season. Some of them are a bit of a reach. Some of them are a bit more certain, but I just sort of made a bit of a case for 10 players.
I like it.
Who you could take at number 3. So, yep, draft guide is rolling, and I think we've got our Hoop Ball listener leagues open as well if you want to jump in and join those.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a couple of those, so I would encourage everyone who, if you're a fantasy nut like us, jump on in. There'll be lots of competitive leagues over there. You can follow us on Twitter at BallBoysNBA and on Instagram at BallBoysFantasyBasketball. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening along on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, watching the video, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and we will catch you guys next time. Laters.